All right, I'd like to reach out now to Laura Thornton. She is the Director and Senior Fellow at the Alliance for Securing Democracy, and she joins us now from Washington, D.C. A very warm welcome to DW News. I'd like to get your take. What do you make of this summit?
First of all, thanks for having me. I think the idea of having a summit for democracy to bring Democrats together to share lessons learned and best practices and ward off this rising threat of autocratization and authoritarianism is a great idea. I don't think it can be in one event. I think it needs to be a continual process. And I was encouraged to hear that Biden has announced that this is going to be a year of action. It's not just one webinar or a couple panels, but rather an ongoing commitment. Because we need to keep in mind that autocrats are having their own summits. They're exchanging lessons learned along with surveillance technology and other methods of coercion. So we really have a job ahead of us to defend our democracies.
Well, let's listen to how the opening address, the president's opening address, when just moments ago when he addressed the participants, and then we'll pick up our conversation after that.
Because the data we're seeing is largely pointing in the wrong direction. Freedom House reports in 2020 that marked the 15th consecutive year of global freedom in retreat. Another recent report from the International Institute of Democracy and Electoral Assistance noted more than half of all democracies have experienced a decline in at least one aspect of their democracy over the last 10 years, including the United States.
So two words that jump out there, retreat and decline in democracy. Is democracy around the world broken?
Well, it's one of the organizations he cited. IDEA is my former employer. So I was involved in putting together that document. And yes, we do have a problem across the globe. And in fact, I think that we have observed over the last almost 2 years that COVID has exacerbated that decline. In particular, we've seen a lowering performance in freedom of speech, media integrity, and personal liberties. And this was, again, in very stable, long-standing democracies, as well as more fragile hybrid democracies. So I do believe that this is sort of a calling card for all of us to get together and rally. Authoritarianism is a very popular alternative, and we have malign actors who are really pushing that narrative. China was very successful in saying, hey, look, democracy's messy. You've got a crisis like COVID or climate change. You can't have administrations changing every 4 years. You need a 30-year plan, which only authoritarian regimes can provide. So there is this dichotomy in messaging about what's more effective, what delivers growth and development for people. And so we have our work cut out for us, and democracies didn't do a terrific job at proving that we could deliver over the last couple of years.
And that's why I'm wondering, is President Biden making a tough pitch? Because America's own democratic credentials are not spotless, and maybe part of the crisis as well?
I think he took the right tone. I was very concerned that we wouldn't approach this, the United States, with a degree of humility, which we need, because we are indeed in a difficult position. We have laws right now in the states that are rolling back election rights. We have minoritarian rule. We need to get our own house in order. And I was appreciative of his remarks that he included the U.S. It's not the U.S. coming in to lecture to others how to be better democracies, but more, we're all in this together, and the United States too, and that none of us have achieved a perfect democracy. It's an ongoing struggle.
An ongoing struggle. Well, one of the things that is getting a lot of attention is the guest list. Everybody's talking about that. It's almost stealing the thunder of the event. Eyebrows are being raised about who made the cut and who didn't. Should it have been more inclusive, you think?
Well, I would have reorganized it differently if I were in that position. I think it should have been a summit for Democrats, of Democrats. I don't think it should have been nation states. I think you just get into all sorts of complications. And it's been well pointed out in the media that there are all these inconsistencies. You know, you have Pakistan, you have Congo DRC, which is an authoritarian regime, being invited, Bolivia not being invited. You know, so you could have that could have been avoided by rallying around the principle rather than states, because it also leaves out Democrats from undemocratic places. I mean, what about all those my former colleagues in Cambodia who are struggling to promote democracy? They should be included in a summit for democracy. So I'm hoping that going forward, and maybe even the next summit in 2022, that it will be more decentralized, and it will rally around people and ideas rather than the executive leaders of a handful, not a handful, but quite a few nations that don't always meet the standard. So that's how I would have formulated it.
Thank you so much. Laura Thornton is Director and Senior Fellow at the Alliance for Securing Democracy in Washington, and she's been talking to us about President Joe Biden's Democracy Summit that is taking place right now. Appreciate it.